How's it going, comic book fans? Welcome back to Comic Drops. Today we're diving into one of the most haunting and poignant comics I've read in recent memory. Stray Dogs, Dog Days, issue number 2. This comic doesn't just continue the story, but takes us deeper into each dog's background, showing us how each one came to be living with the master. Today we'll get into the story behind each dog, Henry, Sophie, Earl, Victor, and see how Tony Fleece and Trish Forstner managed to make subtle nods to the original series, while also showing readers the loyalty, fear, and courage of each of the dogs under the master's control. So why does Earl defend the master so fervently in the beginning? What was Victor's life like before he ended up at the master's house? And by the end of this video, we'll be left asking, what does closure look like when it comes to loss? Stay tuned to find out the answers to these questions and more. The comic begins with Henry the Poodle's story. Immediately, we're pulled into an intense scene as the master enters someone's house, drenched from the rain. The opening line, "Is someone there?" sets up the suspense instantly. And within seconds, a brave dog bursts into the room, barking and growling to protect his owner from the intruder. The dog is relentless, lunging forward to bite the master's hand. And in the ensuing chaos, the owner rushes out of her bedroom to find out what's going on in her living room. When the master falls onto a glass table, breaking it into sharp, glistening shards, Fleece builds a visceral image of the struggle that's both immediate and gripping. Forstner's visuals here are spectacular too. The dog's determination, fierce and full of instinct, is palpable on the page. And when the master kicks the dog off him, and throws treats his way as a distraction, Simpson's coloring choice and use of reds underscores the danger, making the scene feel alive with a sense of threat. There's a moment too where the master fumbles among the broken glass to find his own glasses, which only amplifies his vulnerability. And while blue and red police lights flash across the living room, the master makes a hasty exit, leaving a trail of broken glass and a scared, angry dog. Fleece's pacing of this scene is a highlight of this comic and this series as a whole. At the end of this story, the master is shown lurking in the shadows, towards a woman walking her poodle Henry in the rain after having escaped the police. Her line, "It's just rain, Henry, it's not going to kill you," is chilling, and foreshadows the untimely fate of this woman and her dog. But we don't see the results of this crime of opportunity as the vignette concludes. Fleece leaves us to imagine what happens next, and it's Fleece's ability to create this tension that keeps us reading, feeling like we're stepping into the unknown every time we turn the page. Next, we have Sophie, the main character of the original Stray Dogs series. Her story begins on a deceptively bright day at the dog park, where her owner reassures her and encourages her to go play. This setup is a masterful move by Fleece, offering a sense of security and normalcy that shattered the moment Sophie approaches the master. Forstner's choice to only show the master from the back or the side, never giving us a full view of his face, keeps him as an ominous, shadowy figure throughout this issue. There's a line here where he tells Sophie he's nice to dogs, which adds a sinister irony to the scene. When he introduces her to Rusty, the setup feels almost innocent. Rusty, friendly and welcoming, asks Sophie her name, and she admits that she's scared of the other dogs because they're bigger and faster than she is. Fleece's pacing here works well to reinforce how vulnerable and trusting Sophie is, making her encounter with Rusty even more heartbreaking. The last panels of this story show Sophie's owner carrying her out of the park, completely unaware of the danger that just brushed past them. The haunting twist here is Fleece's choice to let us know, through the master's casual question to Rusty, want to go for a ride, that he has found his next victim. By omitting the actual kidnapping, Fleece achieves something powerful. He leaves the worst parts again to our imagination, forcing readers to linger on the implications. This restraint in storytelling is a standout element, reminding us that what's left unsaid often carries the most weight. Earl's story is up next, and it gives us a touching yet disturbing look into his character. Earl, the unlikely hero of the original series, is here depicted as a young and innocent dog, in the early days of living with the Master. The scene opens with him and the other dogs in the Master's living room, and Fleece introduces us to a character named Laney, a collie, who's already beginning to ask questions. The same questions that served as the basis for the original Stray Dogs series. How did we end up here? Laney's concerns hint that some of the dogs had suspicions long before Sophie did, adding layers to the story we already know. Fleece uses Earl's curiosity to reveal how naive he is at this point. He asks another dog in the room questions about the household routines, when treats are given out, and whether dog food is considered a treat. There's a mix of innocence and foreshadowing here, as the dogs' discussion takes a sharp turn when they see the Master in the kitchen. Forster's illustrations capture the chilling moment when Earl and this other dog spot the Master's duffel bag, filled with a taser, knife, zip ties, and dog treats. Earl interprets this presence of treats as a positive sign, oblivious to the true purpose of those items. And when the Master returns later and pats Earl on the head, rewarding him with a treat, Earl's loyalty is solidified. Fleece here is highlighting the tragic irony that, despite all the signs, Earl's affection and trust are only reinforced by small gestures from the Master. And by the end of the scene, the other dogs start to resent Earl for his apparent favoritism, setting up the heartbreaking loyalty that defines him in the original series. And lastly, we have Victor's story, which is longer and intensely emotional. Victor is a Dalmatian we know met a grim fate in the original series, making this vignette one of the most heartbreaking in the issue. We start with Victor waiting by the fire station bay door as the fire truck heads out for an emergency. Forster's panels show the passage of time through lighting and transitioning from afternoon to night as Victor loyally awaits his firefighter friends to return. When the fire truck finally arrives, Victor's joy is palpable as he greets them, especially his owner Renee. However, not everyone is thrilled with Victor's presence. Another firefighter dismisses him altogether, arguing that the station doesn't need a dog, even as Victor looks up at him wagging his tail. This scene is designed specifically to mirror the scene where Victor rubs his head against the Master's leg, showing his innocence and loyalty right before the Master snuffs out his life for his disobedience. This simple moment captures Victor's love and loyalty perfectly, showing how he's unfazed by anything but his affection for Renee and the other firefighters. And then Tony Fleece cuts to a different scene, the aftermath of the events of Stray Dogs. The Master's house is now surrounded by police tape, with several areas dug up and marked, revealing a yard full of unmarked graves. Graffiti calling him a murderer is sprayed across the side of the house. And as time passes, we see families bring photos, flowers, and mementos, creating memorials in the front yard. Fleece's choice to show the seasons changing, from fall to snow-covered winter, emphasizes the depth of grief left behind and the sustained impact of the Master's actions on each of these families. Next, we see the memorial service for Renee, and her fellow firefighters are in attendance. One of the pictures situated on the top of her casket shows her with Victor. Afterwards, a lone fire truck takes an exit and arrives at the Master's house. We see two firefighters standing in front of his house, one holding a flask while flames consume the building behind them. The fire burning down the Master's house becomes a kind of funeral pyre, releasing the sorrow, anger, and pain it contained. Fleece's narration here is minimal, featuring lines from the prayer of the speaker at Renee's funeral, coupled with Simpson's rich reds and oranges, contrasting with the cool, muted blues of the surroundings, to create a somber, powerful, and ultimately reflective scene. When dawn arrives, the charred remains of the house stand against the morning sky, and Forstner's last panel reveals the collection of items left by grieving families. We see photos of dogs like Sophie, Henry, and even Earl, among the other innocent victims. The final image of the vigil shows the weight of their collective loss, and Fleece and Forstner give readers a powerful, emotional conclusion to a truly impactful series. Tony Fleece's storytelling reaches a new level in this issue. He masterfully paces each story, giving readers only as much detail as needed, while leaving room for our imaginations to fill in the dark spaces. By not showing every detail of the master's crimes, Fleece respects the intelligence of his readers, letting suspense and horror build in our minds rather than spelling it all out. This restraint makes this issue more unsettling and impactful. Each story feels more complete than those in issue number 1, with a clear sense of purpose and pacing. Forstner and Simpson's artwork is in perfect harmony with Fleece's storytelling. Forstner's expressive faces on the dogs allow us to feel every emotion alongside them, from the brave dog in the opening story to Victor's loyalty at the fire station. The use of various cinematic shot types like close-ups, wide shots, and everything in between makes each story visually dynamic and immersive. Simpson's colors add layers of meaning, using reds to signal danger and contrasting colors like blue and orange to create stunning, memorable visuals. The burning of the master's house, set against the morning sky, becomes a cathartic moment that symbolizes both loss and closure. Fleece and Forstner have crafted a moving and unforgettable issue that brings a sense of healing not only to the story's characters, but to the readers as well, providing an emotional farewell to this dark and gripping series. So that wraps up my review of Stray Dogs Dog Days issue number 2. If you found this review engaging, please like, subscribe, and leave a comment below. Let me know which story resonated with you the most. Was it Sophie's innocence, Earl's loyalty, or the haunting finality of Victor's story? Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.